While Republican leaders try to tell you that crime is off the charts and criminals are roaming the streets ready to murder and rob you at any time, and that there are dangerous criminals pouring over our border, Donald Trump's pardon for 1,500 people convicted of crimes during the January 6th insurrection, in some cases, violent assaults, these pardons ensure that there are actually dangerous criminals being released into the streets. And some of the people that walked out of the jails and the prisons across the country following these pardons have already started to talk about what they want for the future. Buying guns, retribution. Let's start with Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys. He's been freed by Trump after being sentenced to 22 years for his role in the January 6th attack. I actually want to read from AP reporting to illustrate the juxtaposition of what he sounded like before sentencing and what he sounds like now. So before he was sentenced, he begged for mercy. Quote, rising to speak before the sentence was handed down, Tarrio called January 6th, quote, a national embarrassment and apologized to the police officers who defended the Capitol and the lawmakers who fled in fear. His voice cracked as he said he let down his family and vowed that he is done with politics. Quote, I am not a political zealot. Inflicting harm or changing the results of the election was not my goal, Tarrio said. Please show me mercy, he said. Adding, quote, I ask you that you not take my 40s from me. U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly, who was appointed to the bench by Trump, said Tarrio was motivated by, quote, revolutionary zeal to lead the conspiracy that resulted in, quote, 200 men amped up for battle, encircling the Capitol. Noting that Tarrio had not previously shown any remorse publicly for his crimes, the judge said a stiff punishment was necessary to deter future political violence. His voice cracked when he said he was done with politics. This was in September 2023. And what about now? Now that he's been freed from prison by Donald Trump? Is he immediately appearing on Alex Jones's show calling for retribution? The answer is yes.
In the words of Pam Bondi, the investigators need to be investigated and the prosecutors need to be prosecuted. Okay, we can't let this go on. We can't do business as usual. And I think the president is going to do a fantastic job of enacting justice, true justice for what's been going on. And success is going to be retribution. Okay, and it's up to us. And when I say us, I include your listeners on there. We got to do everything in our power to make sure that the next 4 years sets us up for the next 100 years.
Success, he says, is going to be retribution. He was also interviewed by CBS News about whether he is still active with the Proud Boys.
What's your association at this point with Proud Boys?
We've made the decision 4 years ago not to tell the media what our structure is, but I'd suggest that the media should stop calling me ex-Proud Boy leader.
So you are still a leader?
That's all. That's the only comment. That's the only comment I'm going to give you.
So we're very far away from him crying in court, lying in court about not being a political zealot, crying and begging for mercy. It looks like the judge was right. He didn't show remorse then, and he doesn't have remorse now. He's emboldened, and he has the power of the president behind him now. Okay, but one more. Jacob Chansley, known as the QAnon Shaman, also freed by Donald Trump. He just gave a wild interview to BBC, and we need to talk about how unhinged this is. This clip starts with the BBC reporter who handled this interview like an absolute champ. It starts with her reading Jacob Chansley's tweet post-pardon, noting that he can't wait to go buy some guns.
You'd heard the news. Thank you, President Trump. I'm going to buy some mother effing guns. Because presumably now your record has been wiped clean, you are allowed to buy guns again. Is that what you're going to do? Have you gone out and bought them already?
Oh, yeah. Well, I want you to think about something. The mockingbirds in the media And the government demonized me. They made me social pariah. They attached things like QAnon, conspiracy theorist, white supremacist, insurrectionist, racist, homophobe, terrorist. They attached all those labels to my image. And then they imprisoned me for 27 months, 10 and a half behind, in solitary confinement. And then they released me to the public as social pariah without the ability to own a firearm. So I can never really actually bring in a gun to a gunfight. I always have to bring a knife to a gunfight. And you do realize how wrong that is, right?
Jay, you pleaded guilty.
I pleaded guilty. So is this how we do things in England? I say, yes, you can't see, the forest for the trees, my dear.
Horrific attempt at a British accent aside, this man is genuinely scary. He seems eager for violence. He's concerned about being armed, planning for future fights. I mean, do you feel safer with these men walking the streets? And what does Trump reportedly want to do now? He wants to invite the people that he's pardoned to the White House. Let's listen to this reporting from CNN.
So I'm told, according to two sources who are familiar with some of these discussions, that essentially some Trump administration officials have had discussions over potentially inviting the people that Donald Trump pardoned on money, the January 6 convicts. Unclear exactly who he's thinking about, if it includes just the people he pardoned or also those who he commuted the sentences of, including Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. But there have been discussions about having them come to the visit for a White House and a potential meeting with Donald Trump. Now, as you mentioned, Dana, it's still unclear in my conversations. They said it's unclear if this is even going to happen. It is under consideration. We have talked about it.
This is just desperate and sick. Donald Trump has his little army of conspiracy theorists who he can mobilize at any time, and he likes it and wants to protect them. That's it. This is why we need Democrats to be the party of the opposition, to be direct and frank and fight against everything the Trump administration stands for. And that's why we need to pay attention to who is and who isn't in this fight. Because if your elected leaders are not doing enough to stand up to Donald Trump and his administration, they need to be replaced with someone who will. My name is Brittany Page from the Page Perspective here on YouTube, and I'm looking forward to continuing to go through today's news with you all.
Did you know that 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February? Lumen is something you can do for your health that's easy to stick to. Our sponsor, Lumen, is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. With a single breath first thing in the morning, Lumen measures your metabolism. It tells you, are you burning fat? Or are you burning carbs? And it'll give you tailored guidance for nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress management. No more cookie cutter, one-size-fits-all nutrition plans. Lumen lets you know what is happening in your body in real time and will build a personalized health plan based on that data. Lumen gives you daily macro recommendations based on what's happening with your metabolism so you can really fuel your body with what's best. Right before a workout, breathe into Lumen and it'll tell you if you're burning carbs or fat. Lumen will tell you if you need to carb up before a workout for an energy boost or if you're good to go. Go to lumen.me/Pacman to get 20% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/Pacman for 20% off. The link is in the podcast notes.